This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is the February 9th, 2022 meeting of the Auburn Conservation Commission. With me in person is Tom Fallon. I see that other members of the commission are joining us remotely, so when I call your name, please indicate that you are here. Allison Holmes.
Here.
Patrick Cunningham.
Here.
Okay. I don't see Megan Langley. Mankett, are you there? And I believe Michelle Colross is still on vacation, the lucky person. Is Catherine Nordberg available online? Okay. We do have a quorum tonight, and also in attendance with us is Land Use Clerk Ginger Butow.
Here.
So, good evening, everyone. I'm calling this meeting to order at approximately 7 p.m. We do not have any public hearings tonight, but we do have certain matters on our agenda which we will be discussing. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, you can call 1-408-650-3123 and enter access code 942-845-549, or you can join via computer at gotomeeting.com/join/942-845-549. The remote access information has been posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join, and also note that this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. So again, we do not have any public hearings for this evening. To the extent that we have items in our agenda, the supporting materials for those items is available on the town's website for the Conservation Commission. So, having gone through that, the first item on our agenda for this evening is 190 Washington Street, Lot 3, Eastland Partners. Mr. Brown, can you sign in, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine, thank you.
Okay, great. So for the record, Travis Brown with Turning Point Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant, which was JM Pool on the filing. There was an enforcement order that was issued for the property for some work that was done in the 25-foot buffer zone. That work has since been rectified. They had constructed a slope. It was stabilized. So what I had done after the letter, also aerial shot showing the area that was regraded to the plan and stabilized with hydro seed. Obviously, it's since snowed. Doesn't quite look like that now, but the area is stabilized. Be happy to answer any questions about the work. I know Phil Faccio from Eastland Partners, I believe, is also on the meeting. But it seemed like just miscommunication why they were in that area. Got out as quickly as they could, restabilized it. So just looking to get that enforcement order lifted at this point.
Okay, well, I think, Mr. Brown, you know the way we operate. We would want to take a view. Obviously, having a foot of snow on the ground from a week ago or 2 weeks ago wouldn't allow us to do that. The good news is that the snow is melting. My suggestion would be that we continue this for until our next meeting, which will be on February 23rd. My hope is that between now and then, the snow will melt. We will not get any further storms. We can take a look and just confirm what you've done. I will say that based on the images that that you've provided to us, it looks like, you know, the disturbed area has been restored. The 25-foot no-build zone has been reestablished. But again, I think for us to do our due diligence, we need to take a site walk and just confirm that, if that's agreeable to you.
Yes, that is agreeable. I can be there if needed. Otherwise, I know you and the commission are familiar with that site as well, but I will certainly take time out of my schedule to accommodate any.
Okay, well, I guess we'll let you know again, as you have said, we've been there multiple times, and we know where the disturbed area was, so I think we can probably handle it on our own, but if we need further guidance, we will be in touch.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thanks.
And just going back to the first item, the 7 PM item for EBT Environmental Consultants, this has been our agenda multiple times. However, again, because of weather conditions, we haven't had an opportunity to go out there to see the buffer zone restaked by the applicant. And I think recognizing that Mr. Kravosky had requested a continuance to our next meeting on February 23rd, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and that will be at 7 PM?
Yep.
All right, I'll take a motion to continue that public hearing, please.
So moved, Tom?
Okay, is there a second?
A second, Pat.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, it's a vote. The next item for other business is Solitude Lake Management, the Packagug Golf Course Irrigation Pond. Is there anyone here on behalf of Solitude Lake Management?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is Dominic Maringolo from Solitude.
All right, good evening, sir.
Good
So,
evening. Thank you.
apparently, this was on our agenda sometime last year, correct?
We had been kind of trying to get on the agenda. I apologize if I missed out on a previous time it was on the agenda, but, I'd worked with you folks to make sure that we were connected up tonight, so I appreciate your time.
So if I understand your issue, you, I think, were wondering if you could amend the current order of conditions, is that correct?
Well, the town has hired us to, as you know, we've been working on Eddy Pond, Pondville Pond, and Leesville Pond, but they've asked us to start managing the small irrigation pond on Packagug Golf Course. So my interest tonight is to just kind of talk with the commission to see if and how they'd like to permit this. It is a relatively small pond, quarter of an acre. It has an overflow that it makes its way down basically to the diversion channel to the Blackstone River. We are planning just to manage it for weeds and algae to maintain the irrigation use for the golf course. So we would apply, EPA and state registered aquatic herbicides and algicides to manage the weeds and algae in the pond. I guess I was kind of hoping that the commission would be either agreeable to an administrative approval or an RDA, because the pond is specifically used for irrigation. There's really no sensitive downstream uses of the water. But typically the pond does not even overflow for a good part of the summer. The water level is generally well below the standpipe in the pond. So we just kind of wanted to review those details with you to get your decision on how we should.
Well, I think it's pretty well known that we don't give advisory opinions. And I certainly can't tell you that if you file an RDA that you get a negative determination, so I don't want to mislead you. But do you plan to, what kind of documentation are you planning to submit to the commission for this?
I'll have to talk with Elise from the engineering department to see how she wants to handle it without any clear guidance from you folks. We'll see if she wants to go the RDA route or the NOI. We don't have any, aside from I have the mapper screen up on my computer that I can share with you, but if you want additional information officially submitted, I would say that we'd either do an RDA or notice of intent. We're just trying to save the town some costs behind having to file a full NOI, understanding that this is kind of a very specific situation.
I understand.
Maybe we could do it with a simpler process.
I laud or appreciate you're trying to save the town some money, but I think not only under the state, or rather the town bylaw and regulations, but I think under the Wetlands Protection Act and the regs issued by DEP, I think you're gonna have to go either the RDA or NOI route, and I think that's something you probably should discuss with Eilish. And again, I can't,
Okay.
depending on what you submit, we'll obviously give you a fair hearing. and we will, you know, we always make site walks. I mean, that's the, it takes the two-dimensional presentation, and we can see it in person, and then at that point, we can make a decision, okay? So,
Yeah,
again,
perfectly fine. I was just trying to get a feel from the commission, so that I appreciate your time. I'll talk with, Eilish, and we'll go ahead and prepare something for official submission to the commission.
fantastic, okay. Well, thank you very much, and appreciate you joining us tonight.
Great, yeah, thank you for your time.
All right, have a good evening. The next item on our agenda is 10 Rotary Road. And just by way of background, this is the project where the applicant really represented himself and constructed walls on his property, abutting the water's edge. And there have been complaints made by at least one neighbor, but we've also had the opportunity to go there. And what we have determined, based on our review of what was submitted by the applicant and by what appears to have been built, is that whatever was built doesn't comply with the plan that was submitted to us. That's the first issue. Secondly, I have also been informed by Greg Woods of the Urban Water District that apparently at least some of the walls, or one of the walls, was constructed on Water District property without their permission. So this is a problematic situation, to be sure. I think when an applicant comes in before us, I think there's a presumption that the work they're performing complies with zoning bylaws, is compliant with maybe other regulations or requirements, in this case, issued by the Water District. And so, my sense is that this is not a minor violation, but a rather substantial violation. And I really am disturbed by the fact that what was presented to us as the finished project and what was actually built are very, very different. And I think, again, I'm not sure why it turned out that way. Perhaps Mr. DeFutis can explain it to us, but based on what we saw, the project is non-conforming to what we approved. And so, but the project, I think, is substantially built. So the question then becomes, what options do we have as a board to correct the situation? And so I would be more than happy to hear from Allison and from Patrick, and also from you, Tom, on what you think a remedy should be here.
The big issue would be, this is Pat.
Yeah.
The big issue would be for him to just pull out the wall, push it back, because it's that one section to the far right of this image that we have on screen currently, where it kind of rounds out towards the water. If we had him pull that wall out and remove fill from that already very disturbed area, I mean, that would be a whole separate project in and of itself. That would require, plans and drafts and approval.
Correct. For what it's worth, apparently these are locking blocks, so I don't think mortar was involved to set the wall. So I think the wall can be removed. I don't believe it would be an easy project, but I think the wall can be removed. And again, I think we are within our right we can order that. We can issue an enforcement order and require the applicant to do it. I think you're absolutely right that we are going to need, it looks like the applicant used I don't even know if he used a CAD program to do this, but I think clearly, given the deviation from what was presented to us and what was built, I think we are well within our rights to insist on an engineered plan if we decide to have that outermost wall removed. Allison, what are your thoughts?
I'm kind of curious what the water department wants and why, you know, what their thoughts are, about, you know, what the damages would be to actually, you know, what benefit is it getting them? Or is it
Well,
really better to make all this disturbance, you know what I mean?
my sense is that, I think it is a trespass. It was explained to me by Greg Woods that, now, I think the outermost wall, and maybe even more, is on Water District property, so it's a trespass.
By how much?
Well, actually, the law in Massachusetts is that it doesn't even, even if it's de minimis, they have a right to have it removed. And so to answer your question, I don't know specifically. I mean, I think, and they, just so you know, I don't think they have decided on a course of action. The option, I think one of the options they talked about was actually selling him, Mr. DeFutis, the land that the wall is built on. Who knows how much that, what the sale price would be? That would be one way to cure it. And
That
Frank,
would be much less disturbance. And
Yep.
then I personally would like him to restore another portion of the bank that, you know, needs some help and as a, you know, penalty, I guess. That would be my preference, but I don't know how that works exactly.
you know, and I think I mean, we have different issues here, you know. I think there's some, I think we have similar complaints, but the issues really are different. And I think we certainly have the authority to act in a manner independent of what the Water District may decide to do. And my understanding is that they're going to be taking it up on their agenda for the next meeting. I'm not quite sure when that's going to be, but I think it's coming up in the next week or 2 weeks. I don't think we can allow that wall to remain, because, again, we rely, people submit plans to us. For example, I mean, I'm sure we insisted that an as-built plan be presented to us. And so, they're gonna have to do engineering anyway. My sense is that we issue an enforcement order. We express the fact that what was built substantially deviates from what was submitted to us, and that that they need to come up with a plan to restore the project to what was originally submitted to us. In other words, if what was built is not what's there now, they need to come back with an engineered plan showing what they're going to do to restore it or to give us what we approved. If they're not willing to do that, I think we have to consider, we have the right to fine people, and you know, we've done it. And I think I see that as sort of a last recourse, but, you know, I think this is a pretty serious breach of trust by the applicant here. And, you know, I don't know what their defense is gonna be, if there is going to be a defense, but what is shown on our plan and what was built are substantially different. And I
Is
think
there a picture showing what was built?
I took pictures, and I think, do we have pictures? Can you post those?
There's one.
So can you see that, Allison?
Yeah.
And of course, it shows the bump out at the end, which of course, you know, doesn't appear on the plan.
That's not 10 feet right there.
And that is not 10 feet.
I think there's a picture that you guys took that's a little closer.
That bump out was the biggest deviation from the plan, because we did a site visit, and we didn't make it all the way down to the end of the wall. A lot of
There
it
you go.
was
That's supposed to be
somewhat
10
the plan,
feet.
but that bump out is the main part that we're concerned about.
Correct, but if you recall, the applicant proposed having these big rocks bordering on the water. And then he was supposed to construct a grassy strip between that rock, the rock border, if you will, and the outermost wall. And I believe believe the width of, if I'm reading this correctly, the width of that strip was supposed to be 11 feet. So that.
14.
14 feet?
Yep.
So the bump out was supposed to be 10, so that curved, let me see, that curved spot right there is supposed to be 10 feet. This spot right
And it's
there,
not even their property.
And it's not,
Right.
that's correct, it's not their property.
that spot right there is supposed to be 14.
See, clearly, I mean, just an estimate is that's less than 6 feet wide. So
Right.
that's a substantial deviation from what was submitted to us.
Yeah.
Where that outermost wall is located, that should have been seeded and loomed, it should be grass. So again, I have no idea what happened, but it's not acceptable, it does not comply with what we approved, and I believe we need to issue an enforcement order. I believe that wall needs to come down. I believe that the applicant needs to provide us with an engineered plan and showing us what he's going to do to restore, or to, what he's going to do to build what he said he was going to build when he came before us last year.
And so if you look in this picture, that's a regular picture that he took.
Yes.
That's all grass
Right.
that goes up to the water. If you look in this picture that you guys took,
Yeah.
hold on. Not that one. He now has rocks on his water's edge. So he took the rocks that he had as a wall, put it in his water, along his water's edge. So those rocks is what he was going to use as his wall.
Well, if you go back to the plan showing the wall,
Yep,
Where's
that's what he was going to use as his wall,
where's the bump out?
over here.
I mean, you can't even see it really, can you?
What, yeah, that's all grass.
I understand that. I'm
Yeah.
saying to you that the bump out that is shown in the photographs is not indicated on, it looks like a flat wall or a straight wall.
Right.
There's no bump out at all. So again, that was a deviation from what was submitted and approved by us.
Yeah.
All right, so,
My concern is just the damage that it's gonna cause. You know, at this point, it's quite stable. You know, the rocks, as much as it's a fill activity that, you know, needs to get justified, I just think that, we should consider the possibility of the option where, you know, he presents a plan of what's been done and why that was done, and before we go like ripping up the water bank, I don't know, it just seems very destructive.
well,
But I do agree something needs to be done, and certainly a much more detailed construction plan, for sure.
what's the expression, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than for permission? I'm not in a forgiving mood, Allison, and I understand what you're saying, but what we're basically saying is by allowing this project to stay in its current state, is that we're basically condoning what was done. And I'm mindful of what you're saying. I think, which is why this is obviously something that the applicant can't do on his own. He's gonna have to hire a professional to do the work the right way, the way it should have been done originally. So, I am mindful for what you are saying. That's number one. Secondly, we don't know what the water district is going to do, but they, I believe, are in their rights to have him take down that wall because it's a trespass. So, even if,
That's where I would like to hear that from them, you know, what they would like done about this, it's their property, but,
well, are you suggesting then that we continue this until our next meeting to see if we can get some additional
no,
guidance
I'm
from them?
suggesting that we send them an enforcement order and express, you know, that we want them to explain this and to get a construction plan that has much more detail, and then we decide what we want to do about it, I guess.
Okay, I mean, I think we can issue with that. We don't have to be specific in terms of what we're asking for. All right, does someone want to make a motion? I hear echo.
I make a motion, we issue an enforcement order with the stipulation that in conjunction with the water department, that we need to find a way to remedy this to make his plan that he submitted be what's actually built. Because the more I look at this, the more I see, like, I'm seeing dimensions of 18 feet, and then I'm seeing some rock, and then I'm seeing like another 11 feet. So, I mean, it's definitely obvious that he completely encroached on way further than he should have. I agree with Allison that I do want to see, you know, minimal disturbance as far as to create any damage, any sedimentation in the area here, but he's got to do something to fix this, to get closer to the plan. And so I think that by issuing this enforcement order, it at least lets him know that he's going to be getting an engineer involved, and we're going to go through what the water department wants to do as far as land ownership, and
How about this? How about if we issue the enforcement order, ask him to come to our next meeting, tell him that he is, what was built is in, does not comply with our order of conditions, and that he needs to provide us with an explanation of what was built there and what he's going to do to bring it into compliance with the plan that we approved. That way, it puts the, I hate the echo. It puts the burden on them, number one. Secondly, I'm hopeful that by the time our next meeting on February 23rd occurs, that we will have some more guidance or some idea of what the water district plans to do. How does that sound?
I concur. That sounds good.
Is there a second?
Second, it's Pat.
Okay. Is there any discussion, any further discussion?
I just wanted to see or ask if it was possible to get an image of where the property line is, and, you know, so we have somewhat of an idea of when next meeting comes and we say that it's on water district property and that they're in both violation of our order of conditions, but also are performing a trespass, because we will be presenting to the landowner that he is trespassing, correct?
It's not, I mean, that's not our issue, really. I think the water district can, I mean, that's a good question. I don't know what sort of enforcement activities the water district can undertake. I don't know under the regulations if, I mean, I know they have the authority to do things. I just don't know if they can do it in an administrative capacity, or if they have to resort to litigation to do it. Clearly, though, it would be helpful to know where the encroachment is occurring. So I absolutely agree with you. And I think that's something, if they're telling me that there's an encroachment on their property, they must have a map that shows that, so I can hopefully get a copy of that from them. And I will ask for that, Patrick.
Please.
Okay. Allison, any other comments?
No.
Okay. There's a motion, and it's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. So, Ginger, I'll work up something. I mean, I think it will be in one of our enforcement orders, but I'll figure what language we need to put in there,
Okay,
okay?
all right.
And then, the only other item on our agenda is the minutes from August 18th. I think we corrected that.
You wanted me to go back and listen to it to make sure, to see whose name it was,
Correct.
and it was Allison's name.
Okay. Congratulations, Allison. Okay. Is there a motion to accept the meeting minutes of August 18th, 2021 as amended?
So moved, Tom?
Is there a second?
Allison, I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, it's a vote. Is there any other new business? There being none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, everyone, thank you. It's a vote. Hopefully, we will have warmer weather and less snow. I know Dan Reich wouldn't agree, but he's not here anymore, so I don't care. And we will see everyone on February 23rd. Thank you. Good night. You too.
I noticed they did